I knew. Yeah, oh, it's all... All right, in the last video, we built front suspension. Well, we sort of built front suspension, and we sort of got it working. If I push on the suspension, you'll see it works a little bit. Ignore that. But we're having some issues with the wheels twisting backwards. I'm sure a lot of you guys commented this already, but we filmed this in advance, so I haven't seen those yet. Now, then. It's a weird future inception thing.
So how did we end up here?
We're having to figure this out on our own, which is actually probably pretty good for me. I know I've got to change this whole design up here, but it's good enough to hold the wheels for now, so I'm not going to deal with that. We're going to move to the back. As you can see, everything's kind of just sitting here on jack stands now, and we've rolled the back into place just to kind of look at it. And there's a few problems we have to take care of. One, the obvious, is mounting it. The other is that it's way too narrow. It looks weird. So we're going to widen the rear, and we're going to do that by making like some spacers for the hubs. Now, I don't know if this will be permanent or not. It's just easier for me to do that and keep moving forward than to get a new axle because of how kind of specific our axle is. So, all right, that worked really well. So I'm super excited about that. Everything looks good now. I think it's worth mentioning we are going to swap out the front wheels for the same as the rear. When I bought these two, the front set and the rear, I didn't realize that the tires were different. I knew the tread pattern was, I didn't realize the size was so drastically different. I'm going to go ahead and start working on our mounts, which I'm pretty excited about. But we've got to get this thing placed, which means basically the engine has to be able to move up and down without hitting our seat. We're also going to run a metal bar behind our seat. So we're going to have to keep that in mind too, which basically means the engine's going to be about where it's at right now. We may suck it in just a little bit more. I don't know. That's the next thing. Let's do it. All right, so it is always nice to send stuff off, have it laser cut, and get it back, but you can't always wait on that, so sometimes you got to make stuff by hand the good old-fashioned way. So we got to make some brackets for our swing arm because our kind of laser cut ones aren't going to work. We need something beefier. We need something longer. And we'll just mark where we need to cut. And then from there, we've already measured, we want our mount to be 2 inches from the outside of our tube. So we're going to come up to 2 inches, mark at 1 inch. That's going to be the middle. And then we got to drill a hole. I'm just going to, what we're going to do, I'm just going to guess. All right, there's our guess. Whew. Let's see. Round one. Can we make it? This is gonna foul on the thing that All right, so what we need is for this to connect to that. That's our steering, right? And when it connects to this, we'll be able to steer with the steering wheel up here. All right, so our steering is good, mostly. We do have to rebuild the front suspension. We know that, but we'll get there later. Now we have to get this thing standing on its own. It's mounted on jack stands right now. That's how it's keeping it off the ground. So we've got it where we want to sit. We're going to build our suspension mounts, get our sweet suspension in the rear, and then once we connect the chain, this thing will be good to go. We can test run it. Let's do it. Thanks, dude. common theme here, and that is that if you're gonna build a go-kart on your own, you're gonna have to do a lot of custom work, even if you buy kits. So we've had to do a lot of spacing to make everything work. We had to space our sprocket out just like we spaced our wheels, just to get everything to line up properly with this axle. It's kind of a weird axle, so that's why we had to do that. But it's lined up now. Our chain's connected, though it's a little bit loose. So we'll have to tension that up either by raising the motor or dropping the axle. I don't really know which one we're gonna do yet, but it will work for a test run. What just broke?
The chain just came off because it was loose.
Oh, okay.
Correction,
dude.
this thing's loose.
Oh, okay. Oh, dang. Yeah, I forgot about that part. I don't know if I would say forgot, more like neglected. We've got these little spacers that I guess you're supposed to cut down to whatever length you need to hold the sprocket in the right spot. So we need to do that. You want to tighten some stuff up and try to run it on the ground? Let's do it. All right, so we just lifted the engine up a little bit to tension our chain. It's a little bit better. We'll see what happens. I didn't put the belt on. What's spinning?
This whole thing right here.
Yeah, I know, it's slipping. The chain is slipping. So we've got a new sprocket. So I found out I had a 428 sprocket and chain and a 41 jack sprocket that's connected to the transaxle. So I got a new sprocket, new chain. I'll leave those links in the description. We had to drill the sprocket so that it would fit our hub and everything. I'm learning if you're gonna build a go-kart, you're gonna be building a lot of custom stuff. It's just part of it. Our suspension does not work at all. Works great. We finally did something correctly. It actually works. The chain's a little bit loose, so maybe we'll figure something out with that. But it does work, and it does work really well. Unfortunately, I did not design good suspension, and because of that, our wheels just break basically every time the car goes. Now, I think the issue is that I've got to have some triangulation out in front of the spindle, which we don't have right now. Luckily, we put these bars in the last episode, so we're going to use those to build new lower control arms for sure, and probably uppers. In the next video, what we're going to do is we'll get that built, get that done, so that we can actually test drive it, make sure everything works. Assuming it all works, we'll finish weld everything, throw a roll cage over the top, obviously put the body back on this thing, and yeah, and then maybe let my son go for his first test drive in it. So that would be really, really exciting. I need to get some throttle cables and brakes. We got a lot to do. Make sure you check back next weekend. We're going to be finishing this thing up in terms of mechanical function, and then obviously we'll be painting it and doing all kinds of cool stuff with it after that. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you in the next one.